3 years ago, I was doing the same thing for days just to get meetings with them. Now, just 5 minutes. When we're using these signals, we have between 40 and 60% reply rate, which is ridiculously high in the space. Every time we make an experiment having the right list versus perfect message, the list is winning, even though the message is not the best one.
If I don't get a reply, I always start thinking, let me fix the copy. What you're saying is forget about the copy, stack the signals, right?
Opening an office with a very specific criteria is GOAT. They booked 6 demos on an enterprise level for just the first week they were using our product.
How do you identify the factor that would be a signal for me?
Good signal is if that person is again interacting with competitor, but with multiple ones. Currently, I see that the jobs are really undervalued signal. Somebody is hiring marketing person, which like thousands of companies are doing that. But the job description is saying that guy needs to re-implement content flow from zero with AI or something similar. So this is something what you're looking for, and that's your customer if you're selling AI agents.
Super tough to do this with Sales Navigator, which is usually how people end up doing it.
We have a lot of people who are using Sales Navigator and they're saying it doesn't work out for me because some profiles didn't visit LinkedIn in 3 months. In our system, you definitely don't have a big database, but you have the database which is currently active in the market. First of all, I truly believe that there is no person who knows what is going to work or not.
Welcome to Edbound with Kinner Martin. It's such a pleasure to have you with us today.
Yeah, thanks very much for the conversation, for the invitation.
Pleasure is all mine, man. I mean, you're doing some amazing stuff, but when I meet founders like you who are doing so much and so effectively, I like to ask this question of how do you introduce yourself when you are in a room with investors and other fellow entrepreneurs?
Okay, so basically, I'm definitely mentioning that I'm a tech guy. So I'm a programmer. I used to code since the very first mobile applications was released in the first iPhone. So after that was in school. After I graduated to school, I thought that I will go to university, but actually dropped then and started a mobile app dev agency, scaled it to 65 people. And during all this year, we had the issue that we were delivering great services, and all that growth was fueled by our good work and what we're delivering. But once you're growing, you need to have some predictive pipeline and to be able to do some kind of predictive GTM motion and stuff like that. And we're thinking, okay, we're very good in closing people to show them their value and stuff like that. But how we're going to actually find these people in the right moment, because we're working primarily with startups. And we started to investigate different problems and stuff like that. And we've seen that we can find a lot of useful info with LLMs and AI and analyze it at scale. And that's how we started closing deals and said, okay, that may be something valuable. Let's open it for the world and see if anybody else would like to try it. We got, around 100, 150 people on a waiting list, started to explore the problem more deeper. And that's how Clearcue come up.
Wow. So it's kind of solving your own problem and you're building in the space, which basically a lot of people recommend this, by the way. I've had some amazing guests that testify to the power of this. You basically saw a problem, you solved it for yourself. And while you were solving it for yourself, you clearly understood that this is a product that you could scale. So let's just go a little deeper into understanding what is it that you find with the power of LLMs. Let's say if somebody is just starting with Claude Code or Claude Cowork or ChatGPT, how do they start with the process that you're talking about? And then I would go to Clearcue and then I would want to understand a little bit more. But let's just start with the basics. What is it in the customer acquisition space that a B2B SaaS company could start doing?
Okay, so the first thing is that like the terminal and all these kind of things were a safe place for the developers. But now I see everyone trying to do like Claude Code or the desktop applications and stuff like that. I would definitely say for anyone who didn't touch anything in the past and who is not tech, my recommendation is first to just do your setup, install some things, even don't go to Cloud Code or stuff like that. Just get used to the terminal and what could happen there. After that, just start with some simple things. Maybe watch some kind of videos and resources, understand what is prompting, how that works, how you're communicating actually with the LLM, because it's not like a magic bullet where you're just typing something and it give you the result you expect. So there is, like, when we're talking right now, there are specifics in how we communicate with each other when we're just two people, and there is also specific how you're communicating with the Claude, ChatGPT, or whatever other LLM tool you have. So in my opinion, for people who are not experienced and are just starting, you just start playing with different use cases, see how the system is responding. Try to ask a lot of questions to LLM just to explain why something is working and why not. Even I'm doing that in my workflows, and it is doing pretty well.
So if I was to ask specifically in GTM, let's say a B2B SaaS founder is specifically trying to grow the business outreach, how does your tool Clearcue would come in, and what problems is it going to solve?
Okay, so the main problem we're solving is basically like with finding people who are already like showing some kind of intent in like services, product, and stuff like that. So basically, in the past, what the people, founders, and GTM tools are doing, they had some databases with lists with people who they believe they could be their potential clients. They call it like ICP or stuff like that. And they start doing outreach campaigns. They start cold calling or other initiatives, invite them to event and stuff like that. But all these databases, they're static. So everyone is using these channels, so they're overcrowded. So you're not able to just shine there and get these customers because they ignore all these messages. What is currently working, and I see it every day with our own system and also with our customers, is just to find the people who are showing intent. And what intent means is like, just imagine like a bakery shop. If you see somebody who is in front of the bakery shop, that's most probably showing you that that person is hungry and he wants to eat. So that's what you're looking for. And our tool is giving you the opportunity to find these people which are showing that intent, which is something related to your product or service. We are having multiple channels where we get our data from. With LLMs, we remove all the noise, which is not relevant for you. After that, you're building your list with all these top people. And after that, you can just outreach them or do whatever campaigns you would like to do. Maybe run ads or whatever channels you're using. In the current space, I believe that having the right list with the people is like the most important stuff. Every time we make an experiment, like having the right list versus like perfect message or perfect channel or whatever, the list is winning, even though the message is not like the best one.
Wow, that's so profound. So let's just dive a bit deeper into these intent signals. I would love for you to give me 3 or 4 examples of companies that use your product. And if you're able to quote that, that would be brilliant, because people understand the best by hearing about case studies, right? So, if we can clarify to them that this is an example of an intent and that's how it kind of became the best time to reach out to this audience. So let's pick a few examples. Let's do maybe 2 or 3.
Okay, I will give you the first example. I will give you, which is very like common, but I will show you 2 different cases where in some of the cases it is like qualifying signal, and the other case it is totally disqualifying. Because in our tool, the best part is that you can stack signals, so you can combine them, and when you have multiple things, they can tell you, okay, that's maybe something which is really relevant, or it's something which doesn't show anything, or even the other way around. So basically, one of the popular signals people are using our tool is to track competitor. But for example, for tools which are into the marketing space, sales space, that signal is very strong that somebody is looking for these solutions. Maybe somebody is like reacting on my posts, on my competitors and stuff like that. It shows interest. But the important part here is like, if we see that somebody is like interacting with our competitors more than 7, 8, 9 times, that doesn't mean interest. That somebody is trying to sell them something, or they have personal relationship or stuff like that. So it's not strong signal. I mean, it's actually a disqualifying signal, and you see it is the same thing, just these are the details. Other thing which we see like a good signal is if that person is again interacting with competitor, but with multiple ones. Like it's a very rare chance if that person is just interacting with 8 people and he's very good friend with all these 8 people and stuff like that. So it is very strong. But there is another thing. For example, there are some industries which are I would say very traditional. So SaaS tool is selling to food producers or to manufacturers and stuff like that. And when you see that somebody from this producer is engaging with your competitor, that's 90% chance that they are just customers. It's not that like they are exploring the product or stuff like that. So it's very important to know your ICP, what that ICP is doing, and what they are doing, what does it mean? I'll give you another example with like public company which we closed recently. They're selling some kind of management software for buildings and stuff like that. And what we've seen there is that like opening an office with a very specific criteria is like a gold thing. They booked 6 demos on a very enterprise level for just the first week they were using our product. So it is very individual use case for every single customer. And that's actually what we would like to solve. Give you the infrastructure. So that infrastructure is going to build you your individual use case. We don't have 2 customers with the same signals.
I love that. I think you explained it so well. These are brilliant examples. I have a question which everybody would be thinking about when they're listening to this. My question is around how do you identify the factor that would be a signal for me? Now, it sounds great that this guy who identified when someone opens an office is the right time to sell my software, right? And your system identifies this signal and demystifies or unravels. But as a company, a lot of products, sell at like an intersection of figuring out their ICP's most popular behavior and understanding their psychographics, demographics. And you'll be surprised how even at very late stages, the information about their customer isn't as deep because, platforms like Google would just give you buying intent by search terms. And the world is changing now. So how do you help, or how should someone go about it? How should they discover what are the signals?
Okay, so first of all, I would like to state something which I truly believe, and it is that there is no person who know what is going to work or not. So what I believe is like that just to understand what is working or not, you need to do a lot of experiments. And doing these experiments should be done in a best speeds possible so you can adapt and see what's working and what not. So we adapted that thing in our system. So we're not promising our customers, oh, you're coming to us, we're setting you up 5 or 10 or 15 signals and they're working. What we're promising to you is that our agent and system is working in that way that, yeah, we have some historical data, we have some bias and stuff like that. We set up the signal based on your input. After that, these signals are working for some time. And after that, we tell you, okay, that's what we found. These are the signals. These are the people. You as a person give us, not us, obviously the AI agents, some feedback, and they fine tune these signals or replace them completely. So that kind of loop is done automatically. And that's the good part, because you're able to hire go to GTM engineer, or you can set up that on your own. But it's very hard to keep that pace and discipline to do that regularly, like every 1 week, to review all these signals, what's working, what not, and stuff like that. All that thing is automated in our system. So you're just giving the input to and feedback to what was produced by these agents, and after it, it's automatically adapt. So just in a couple of weeks, all these signals are already matched. And what you mentioned earlier, there is nothing which is working forever. So maybe these signals will work for the next month or two. After that, we will see agents will see that they stopped working and they will promote new ones.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think it's a very complicated maze, but I like your approach that experiments are at the heart of all GTM success. So I think I kind of this is such a brilliant quote. Experiments is what the attitude has to be. But let's say there is a framework. Let's say if you were to suggest to me, these are the five that you should begin with. What should I be thinking? How should I start with my five experiments? How would I design those as a
Okay,
B2B company?
so I will propose 3 or 4 different types of things.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, one of the things is if you're writing content on your own and stuff like that, just to monitor your own presence, because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, these are people close to me. I'm just looking for others and stuff like that." I mean, the low-hanging fruits are the people who are already interacting with you, which are already mentioning you and stuff like that. So this is the first thing. Just start from your own network. The next one is like if you're a product company where you're buying
Can I
persona. Yes.
Sorry, before you go to the next one, I want to just understand the first one super clearly. You're saying start with my own network. I mean, give me a little bit more about what do I do? Like I want to be clear about how do I start with my own network.
Okay, so what you can do in our platform is like you can see all your engagers and commenters on your posts on
Mm-hmm.
socials, and also you can see who is like viewing your profile and stuff like that. You can combine these two, and when you see a spike in your in that engagement, that's somebody who is interested in yourself somehow. And if you're like primarily doing content related to your product or service, that's definitely a very, very strong intent. And if that person is matching your
Okay.
ICP, it's worth to connect with him.
Okay. So what I'm essentially doing by this exercise is I'm trying to figure out the kind of ICP that's being drawn towards the kind of content and offer I have put out in the world, which helps me decide maybe the first signal that I want to go after. So it's a great starting point. Yes. Now let's move to the next one that you were going to talk about.
Okay, so the next one, if you're like product company and your persona is in socials, I definitely advise to put your competitors, because it is very strong. Currently, everyone is looking for something new, so the market is very hot, and people are interacting with different kinds of educational videos, workflows, like lead magnets, all these kind of things. So it could fill your pipeline for thousands of people who are very hot and currently want to try something. For example, in our use case, when we're using these signals, we have between 40 and 60% reply rate, which is ridiculously high in the space. Next thing I would advise is to start monitoring and listening for some topic
So
powerful,
the
because
last
if you
one,
yeah.
the last one that you're mentioning is more about keywords and search intent. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, I have a question around that where I I think I was in a call earlier today with someone who competes with HeyReach. Now, I've had Vuk from HeyReach on my podcast, and I love what they're building. We are a customer. If you are trying to generate these signals from search intent, what should be the strategy and the setup for this? Are you saying that if my account is connected into Clearcue, you will use my account to go and scrape the guys, or how does it work for search
No,
intent?
no, we're using some other data sources. We have also our own infrastructure, so you don't need to connect your account or stuff like that. So we don't do that. And basically, one of the sources is social, but like the next example I want to give you is like with jobs. Currently, I see that the jobs are really undervalued signal, because people are looking for jobs like company A is just hiring marketing guy. But that's not the point of the signal. In the job description and what we're getting with the LLMs and give you like a signal, there is a lot of valuable information which shows intent. For example, somebody is hiring marketing person, which like thousands of companies are doing that, but in the job description of hundreds of these tasks is saying, okay, that guy needs to re-implement content flow from zero with AI or something similar. So this is something what you're looking for, and that's your customer if you're selling AI agents who are writing code, improving SEO or something like that. So we get these data sources, and we just search for what is relevant for your business.
Wow, that is super powerful. Now, once somebody has identified all this, and let's say I use your platform, and I have stacked up some of these signals. What is your recommendation on outreach? What is working today? And does your platform also help with that? If not, what does somebody do?
So currently we don't do our outreach in our platform on purpose. I mean, obviously we're tech, so we can build it, but we would like to be like the best tool for getting signals and bringing you the right list. So we have integrations like with HeyReach, we have Webcook, so you can put that list somewhere,
Okay.
export it and stuff like that. So we have integration with all these outreach tools. And basically the things which are working best currently is like integration with some kind of LinkedIn outreach tool, because there we see better results. Obviously, some of the people are doing emails as well, but the emails is like a secondary channel. If they're not able to receive connection with that
Wow.
person or account, or they are not receiving response and stuff like that, but email is like a secondary account. What we're solving with our software as well, like a hidden benefit, is that you're able to send around 100 connections per week in LinkedIn. So if you
Yeah.
have premium, maybe 200. From these connections, you're able, maybe 70% will connect with your 50%. So the list is becoming smaller. So if you don't have the right list, you're burning these connections and you're not able to grow fast. Because it's not like with email, I can just put that email to 5,000 people. It's not possible. You should do a lot of multiple accounts and all these kind of things, and people need to manage. So once we have the right list and we increase your reply rate, we immediately affect your business.
Wow. No, this is profound. So one thing that you said is powerful, and I think a lot of people listening to us would testify to the fact that email is almost a secondary channel. People have this feeling now that businesses are no longer opening emails. So I think the reply rates are down, and you said this, that you treat it as a secondary channel. So I love that. Now, another thing that you often kind of talk about, and this is so powerful, most teams are still thinking that marketing should be treated as campaigns run every quarter. Now and then you go and kind of run a campaign, and you do it quarterly, you do it monthly. Some people who get really aggressive are changing it fortnightly. But I think what you're saying is that you could treat the market as a live stream of micro signals, which is beautiful. And it changes everything that marketeer, the GTM engineer, or the head of growth's role. How does that change? What is it that they should do differently now?
Or that growth in engagement, or whatever is working in your business, just put that person in that bucket which is already built, and you already know that it's working for that persona and for that behavior. So from static lists and filters, we're moving to catching behavior and acting on that behavior. So that's the thing you need to.
Yeah, this makes so much sense. I mean, and that's how marketing should be. So I love it. I love how differently you're treating the intent signals in this machine. You also talk about 24/7 digital sales agents. So what's that? Like, if you could elaborate a little bit on the sales agents bit.
Yes. So basically, our agent and what it's doing is that, like, we constantly get data, we constantly analyze it, and once we see an issue or we need an approval from the company which is using the tool, they need to give that input. So that's basically how it works. 24/7, it's getting data. 24/7, it analyzes the data, and once we need the decision from the other party, it is requested in the platform or email, Slack, whatever. That input is provided and the system adapts. So it is just like digital workers, which are working all the time, and you're just giving them some instructions and they report to you.
Yeah, no, I think that's how the whole GTM landscape's going to change. Agents everywhere. And I think some of the tools like Claude Code, which you compare Clearcue for intent signals, is also kind of making all that possible with MCP connections. In fact, we saw the power of this in our platform. We recently started working on an MCP. We released the first version, and I see that you also came out with your MCP recently. Is that
Yeah, for example, when we were building our MCP, I was expecting that it will be very good, but once I started to use it, I was really amazed, because with just a single prompt, the AI was working for 5-7 minutes, and it gave me so much deep information which is not possible to be analyzed or collected. For example, I said, okay, can you give me comparison between the audiences of myself and my competitors, where they are winning, where I'm winning, and stuff like that? I received that in 5 minutes. After that, I'm saying, okay, based on all these signals, I'm originally from Bulgaria, and I said I'm traveling to San Francisco. So you don't know who is Bulgarian in San Francisco, and I said, can you give me who are the Bulgarians? It scraped all these people from our database based on some rules, namings, people who maybe worked in the past in our country and stuff like that. It gave me confidence score about these people, how likely they are to be Bulgarian, and it has like 90-95% success rate. Like 3 years ago, I was doing the same thing for 2 days all the time just to get all these people and make meetings with them. Now I had it just in 5 minutes.
Wow. Wow. This is powerful stuff. And it's super tough to do this with Sales Navigator, which is usually how people end up doing it, right? I mean, we buy a Sales Navigator license and try and look for people within the ecosystem of LinkedIn. So are you essentially saying that if people start using Clearcue, we could bypass the use of Sales Navigator? Because I mean, I'm not just generally going after the market, I'm going after people who generate these intent signals.
So we have a lot of people who are using Sales Navigator, and they're saying, okay, it doesn't work out for me because it gives me some profiles, but these people, maybe they didn't visit LinkedIn in the past,
Yeah.
3 months or stuff like that. And that's actually how the market is moving. In our system, you definitely don't have a big database, but you have the database which is currently active and in the market. And I think it is much more valuable than having 20 million of contacts where you don't need them. You need the right 10 or 100 or 1,000, depending on your business, and to act on them. If you ask any salesperson or founder, what do you prefer, like to talk with 1,000 people and close 10 deals, or just to talk with 10 people and close these 10 deals? Everyone will say the second one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, another thing you say really beautifully, and I love about what you're saying, and the whole thesis of Clearcue is that I don't need to be worried about the copy I'm writing because, it happens with me personally. If I'm sending 20 emails after I met people somewhere, or if this is a cold or let's say a warm campaign, if I don't get a reply, I always start thinking, let me fix the copy. There's something wrong with the copy. But what you're saying is forget about the copy, stack the signals, right? This is really kind of powerful that timing and intent is more important and this should be the obsession.
Yes, exactly. And we did multiple experiments, like AI is writing customized message for every person and have copy pasted message, but based on the behavior. So how we're doing our outreach is we're doing message per behavior, like
Oh,
what the
okay. Yeah.
purpose is currently showing, like an intent, what is his pain point which we
Yeah. Yeah.
detected, and stuff like that. So that's our message. It's not written by AI, it is written by us and tested, and that message every time is winning against the AI, because AI is kind of hallucinating, trying to do some stuff which are very personalized, very much for you, and people maybe they get used to that, or maybe they don't want that personalization. They just need to be straight to the point. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. If you're hungry, offered food, you'll eat it, then, random time of the day. I think changing gears to what's happening in the AI world, MCPs, co-pilots, and, all that's happening with LLMs is the future of GTM. What's your take on this? Do you stand by this? Because see, in my GTM stack, in almost every founder that I talk to, they're moving the entire operating system into systems like Claude.
Yeah. So basically, I think that there are two directions currently. Obviously, AI agents, LLMs, they will be part of every single process, not only GTM, but every operation in the company. But there are two paths. One is completely giving control to the AI, which I don't believe that will happen so fast. And also, there is a lot of conviction in the people that they know what's working, they want it in their way and stuff like that. So in that way, maybe some companies will say, okay, I'm leaving everything to the AI, and it will brute force until maybe it finds a way. The other wave where our product currently stands is like we're trying to automate 95% of that, but leaving the feedback and strategy to the human just to give us input and validate that that's his vision and what he wants. So these are the two things which will exist in the next years. The moment which is very tricky is how fast people are able to adapt to that, because I think that the technology is already there to produce all these kind of outputs and stuff like that. It is just the people are not ready to jump in so quickly and change that completely, because just imagine people working for 10, 15, 20 years in the industry, and they need to say, okay, I'm not going to do content, I'm not going to do lists, I'm just going to monitor some agents. This is very frustrating for some people. Some of their feel the fear of somebody like replacing them and all these kind of things.
Yeah, I think we are in for a big change, but I love how you put it. I think we're all at the point where we have to drive the AI quite a bit. And I think this is the collaboration time. So I kind of love the way you're kind of conceptualizing this engine that you are also building. And I love that you gave that example of the MCP driving all this research with just a single prompt using your system. Let's play with one example or a case study, because I think everybody loves case studies and how it applies to their business. Let's talk about a CRM. Let's say somebody comes with a CRM for a vertical like building material companies, right? Or CRM for construction manufacturers. A lot of these CRMs are commoditized, right? I mean, their competitor would be just any other CRM. How would you recommend they begin with deploying of the entire intent signal methodology in this organization? Like, let's run through the step-by-step playbook for these guys.
You mean if the person who is like going to use that kind of signal system is the founder of the CRM, right?
That's right. Yes. Actually, let me change the example, because I've been talking to this company in the US, and let's say something as commoditized as Microsoft Azure reseller, somebody who sells cloud optimization, or, like people who just sell the cloud infra from Microsoft to you. How should they look at intent signals, and how should they build their GTM engine?
So, as I mentioned earlier, the things which is just to build the list and have the right list of people should be like automated and done by AI and agents. What I see currently in the market is that there are two very different sales motions once you start onboarding customer. One of them is completely product led. So you need to be really low tier in terms of pricing. Your product should be so easy to be used and adopted that everybody could be onboarded, set it up, and stuff like that. The other extreme part is where your customers are, I guess these manufacturing people will be people who are not going to be onboarded like with self onboarding. They need
Yeah.
somebody to just
Book a
show
demo.
them the product, integrate it in their system and stuff like that, which is becoming very, very expensive. So you just need to use the AI to kind of optimize all your processes and just to be very effective AI agency in that sense. So that kind of product, they should do all their go-to-market motions in operations is just to serve these customers in the best way possible and just to validate if these people are able to pay that price. Because I see with my other company, which is the agency, and some people who are coming to us to build their systems and products, that in that way they say, oh, I would like AI, I would like to optimize that process. But first, their systems and everything are not ready for that. And second, there are people who are working them, they are not ready. So in that sense, whatever my product is doing, it could be like the best product possible. I can sell it. It could be like a very easy sale. They're not able to adopt it, and that will ruin the whole company.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense, man. Now, what would be that one piece of advice that you will give to a CEO? You've spoken about signals, building a constantly listening live stream of micro signals within an organization, and MCPs and tools. Now, what would be this one advice that you're going to give to one CEO that's trying to build their GTM operations from scratch? And this could be anyone, and you've got one piece that you could leave them with.
Okay, so definitely the advice is like forget about that you know anything about the space. You're just starting from scratch, that nothing is working and you need to experiment from day one. Because currently all the AI and agents and everything which is existing in tools was not existing like 6 months ago or 1 year ago. And also the market and people, how they think is so changed that I think that the best thing is just to say, okay, maybe you have some teams which are working and stuff like that. Just think about that new go-to-market motion like a mini startup in your organization. So just put people aside and say, okay, start doing something, but completely from scratch. You don't care about our process, which tools we're currently using, what is our CRM and stuff like that. Just do it completely from scratch, because otherwise you'll be stopped and you're not going to execute that thing fast if you are having some kind of legacy system, process, and people.
Wonderful. No, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us, Martin. I wanted to kind of keep it really tight with all this brilliant advice about building the intent signals, and thank you so much for sharing all that you shared with us so freely. So
yeah, thanks. Thanks very much for the invitation. It was a really pleasure talking with you.
thank you, Martin.